It's really my honor to introduce Aliza Lavie, PhD, who is one of the most recognized public advocates in Israel today. Her work focuses on the role of women in Judaism, Jewish education and identity, Israel and diaspora relations, and Jewish culture. A former member of Knesset, Dr. Lavie served as chairperson of the Committee on the Status of Women and Gender Equality and the chairperson of the Committee to Combat Women Trafficking and Prostitution in Israel's Knesset. She's the recipient of the Outstanding Parliamentary Award for her contributions and groundbreaking legislation. She's the chairperson of the Israel Film Council and the author of 5 books. Her groundbreaking book, A Jewish Woman's Prayer Book, won the 2008 National Jewish Book Award. And as a rabbi, I just feel so blessed to have you here in our congregation. As I explained to you just a few moments ago, your Jewish Woman's Prayer Book is so important and so vital for women really throughout the Jewish narrative who are often not given a voice or given prayers to say. You identify different phases and stages in women's lives and you give us voice. Not only there in our liturgy, but then you wrote iconic Jewish women, which I know you'll be speaking about tonight as well. 59 inspiring, courageous, revolutionary role models for young girls. What's amazing about this book, and I'll give a plug to everyone who is here and watching at home, is that it's so user-friendly, that you can learn about each of these truly iconic Jewish women throughout history, but then there's action items. You're allowing young women to find their own voice within the pages of Jewish history. In a way, they become part of our narrative by using your book. So with that, I want you to please join me in thanking and welcoming Dr. Aliza Lavie. Thank you for coming to Sinai Temple.
And I left Israel, and it's not easy to leave your country in times like this. Unfortunately, we are during a war, and we didn't decide, chose, or wanted to be in war, but suddenly we were forced to defend our life because we saw, all of us, what's happened to the Jewish people when they, for one moment, think that they can dream. They can think that they are in a peace time and period, and didn't pay enough attention, I believe, in dreams. And we took a lesson. And never again, it means never again. And never again, like we will read in this coming Shabbat in the Parasha, Nitzavim Vayelech, the covenant in between us and in between God. And we have to remember it, and we got a lesson. And to stand here 1 week before Rosh Hashanah, it's not that easy. After a year, enduring year, like the year that we had and still, unfortunately, have. My son, for example, he went to the army, to Gaza, 5 months, just like his friends and like my 2 sons-in-law. And like all the other brave people, men and women, that left their homes, children, work, university, missions, other missions, and went and going to protect Israel and to protect all the Jewish people in all over the world. So may this gathering together this evening, few days just before Rosh Hashanah, be a joint prayer for the safe return of the hostages, and may all the wounded have a refuah shlema. And please, God, make a shalom al Israel. All of us, all of our people, we need it. We need it. Just before I left Israel 3 weeks ago, I went to a shiva that a friend of my young woman, student at the university, lost her husband Shira lost her husband, Yochai, and she said Shiva, together with the family and her two babies, twins, 2 years old. And I told her that I'm going to promote the book and to continue my book tour that postponed twice because I couldn't leave Israel before. The book was published in December, and I thought that I can make it in March and then May, but I couldn't, unfortunately. I couldn't leave all the missions that I had and have. And of course, as I told you, my family's part of it was in the army, and unfortunately, since 2 days ago in the army, my son and my two sons-in-law are in Lebanon, in the border. Now, again, another step that started. Please God that we'll find ourselves in a good position, but we understand that we have to continue working and protect ourselves. And actually, together with Rabbi Miriam, that it's opportunity to thank you for hosting me and having me. But both together with Gary, we met professors from UCLA Medicine School in a couple days ago with Gary, and today with Rabbi Miriam. And we heard from them about the situation here in the university, in UCLA, in the medicine school. And we were shocked this afternoon when we heard the situation and we got some testimonies that we are not familiar with, and we ask questions. How come? What is going on? And why? Why the silence around it? And where are all the organizations? Some questions that me, as a member of the Israeli parliament and as a faculty at Bar-Ilan University and as a citizen of Israel, ask questions. Where are all my colleagues? October 7, murder, raped, catastrophe, terror attacks. Where is all my colleagues that I used to work with them in other parliamentarians, in other delegations, in United Nations, etc., etc. And it's questions that we have to ask. We have at least to ask and to be aware. And okay, if also we don't have answers, what are we going to do? I mean, what will be next step for us as Jewish people? Because, okay, we can handle, we use, and it's not the first time, yeah? We have to remember always where we are coming from, all of us as a people, with a heritage, with understanding, with brave souls that were here before us and will be after us. But still, now, in this generation, it's our mission together. And see what's happened to us when we are not working together. Because in Israel, it didn't start October the 7th. It started year, 2 years, 5 years before. 5 times election. How come? What's happened to us? Why? Why is that? We forget it. We are one people. So yes, we had and have and must make our homework. As me, as Aliza, as an Israeli citizen, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a student, I always ask questions, even in the times that I can't find answers. And as I always recommend my students and my children and my friends, go and make your own research. Nobody will make it for you. Nobody will find the answers for you. And actually, that's how I started my journey. Like Rabbi Guzik spoke before about my previous book, a Jewish women's prayer book. And actually, this book, I didn't, think that book of prayers will be a mission in my life. But as a social activist and a woman that asks questions, I said to myself always, what other women did in the past? I'm not the first one that have questioned. So what did they do? How they manage? Like my granny. I told you before, my grandmother share with Fariba that my grandmother came from Afghanistan to Israel in 1920. 1920, came from Afghanistan as a Zionist woman together with her family. Wealthy Afghanistan, wealthy woman together with her family. Years before Israel was established, they came as Zionist group of people to the Bukharian neighborhood in Jerusalem, in the center of Jerusalem, and build the neighborhood together with the famous synagogues. I'm sure you're familiar with the synagogues. Edna, I see your smile, and you're familiar with these amazing people. Some Persian people live in this area. Baba Tama and the family of forget, I'll remember. So I'm always looked at my grandmother and admire her for her knowledge. And I asked questions, and she gave me always the answers. And my granny went 3 times a day to the synagogue together with her friends. And as a child, I remember that when the Baal Koreh, when the man that read in the Torah made mistakes, or the women from the balcony correct him. And I remember as a child, I mean, they knew everything by heart, even though that they didn't know how to write and how to read. And more I understood that my granny, she's, wow, a clever woman that know everything. So how come in our generation that we know how to write and how to read, and still many questions as a woman, as a Jewish woman, as an Israeli citizen, that on one hand, I'm an officer in the Israeli army, but on the other hand, I can't do this and I'm not allowed to ask that, etc., etc. So what is all going on? And the gap between grew up with a grandmother like my granny, and the fact that I, in a big position in the army or in the university or in other places, but as I said, I'm not that familiar with my heritage as Jewish woman. Why? Why is that? So more I asked questions, I realized that part of the history of me as a Jewish woman, I'm not familiar with. And from this understanding, I started my research. And more I became familiar, learn, took testimonies, listen, and went to archives and meetings and reviewing, etc., I found a lot of prayers that you just spoke about them and mentioned. And all of them were written by women and for women. And the main reason during the 2,000 years of the people of Israel that were all everywhere in the communities in Iran and in Germany and in Afghanistan, Poland and Europe and Yemen and Algeria and Tripoli and Spain, etc., etc. Most of them, the majority of the Jewish people, especially women, didn't know Hebrew, like in our days. But still, in the synagogue, the prayer is in Hebrew, and the reading of the Torah is in Hebrew. So think about it, about our mothers and also fathers, because not all the men knew Hebrew. So what are they going to do? Everybody wants to pray, I'm telling you. Elie Wiesel wrote about it. Read Elie Wiesel's books. He wrote it, and Rabbi Heschel and other rabbis about the importance of the prayer in our life. And after a year like this in Israel, and I'm telling you, since October 7, and me, I'm well known in Israel, and I'm running a lot of rituals concerning prayers. But in Israel, in the last year, It doesn't matter if you are secular or religious, and if you are this or that. There is no definitions. It's the feeling that everybody should want to pray, wants to pray. And more than that, when you got a message, please, we need your prayers for these soldiers and the other. And so everybody, it's like, groups of WhatsApps and WhatsApp groups of Tehillim, of prayers. And in the square, in the hostages square, people are sitting and praying, etc., etc. And I found out that the most intimate prayers and the prayers that assist a lot of people is prayers from our mother's tongue, our mother's prayers. Because what is the difference? The difference is our mother's prayer is much more intimate. And actually, it's long discussion with the Creator. I remember my granny, and I'm sure you remember your granny. Actually, they spoke with God. They spoke. They convinced him. I remember, the discussion, between my grandmother and her friends together with the Creator. And I see mothers now in the hospitals sitting so many months close to their sons and daughters. And thanks to this mother and father and families and support, I mean, we see the Nisim. We see unbelievable. I mean, even doctors can't explain what is going on and how come. But we know, especially people that are here. We know that the most important, and like Hannah. What is the pages? We have it in our hands. May I have a copy? Thanks. Like a, like a, like our actually, I mean, we learned Tefillah in Am Israel. Who taught us how to pray? Who is the one that taught us how to pray in our
parents,
our
our
parents,
teachers.
but I mean from our history, from our
Hannah.
Nofen.
Oh.
You're right. Hannah. Actually, all of us.
But Hannah was silent when she prayed.
Yes, you're right. But we meet her twice. Remember, first, when she decided to go to Shiloh, to go to the Mishkan in Shiloh, and she decided she's going to change her life. Okay? Remember, her husband loves her much more than the other woman, Pnina, that together they have children. And he didn't understand Hannah. He didn't understand her pain every year when they went together as a family to the Mishkan. So he gave twice to Hannah, even though that Pnina has the children. We remember it. So more than that, he asked her, why you are so sad? I love you so much. I'm only yours. Ta-ta-tam, like a Hollywood movie. But Hannah, she didn't pay attention. And she said, you don't understand me. Think about it, about the relationship between them. Come on, you love her so much and you can't even understand her pain. And it's an example for us to change our life as persona, as people that take responsibility and not say, okay, we can't do this. And no, I'm so weak, I can't, and no, how can I manage, etc., etc. And everybody here in this room, all of us have our life story, and we know that we have to handle, and sometimes we need to give up, and nobody trusts us, even people that are so close to us that they should support us. We know we are people, we have our lessons in life, but in the end, Hannah understood that she has to take control. She is the one that needs to take control. So, yes, you're right. She, in the end, went by herself to the Mishkan and pray. And Eli thought that she is drunk because she prayed with all her body. she asked for help from God. And actually, well, what? I'm saying.
It's okay. Page.
It's for the city. It's to like find a missing person.
Missing person. Yeah.
It's a national,
I don't know.
It's not for Sinai Temple.
it's not the Sinai.
Yeah.
Don't forget that I'm Israeli.
You're like,
No big deal. This is nothing.
And my day started with alarm it was an alarm, unfortunately, very close to airport, the airport, and it's, I share with you that I'm going, please God, Sunday to Israel, and I pray that Ben Gurion will still be open. And it's not a joke. Think about the fact that everything is so instability. Yeah, I mean, this is our life, and yes. So think about that she went, and actually remind yourself the dialogue between Hannah and God, and Rashi, read Rashi in the Pasuk there. And Rashi said that she didn't leave the Mishkan till she got the answer. Sometimes in our lives, we got an answer, we know it. It's kind of intuition, and you say, and you know it, and we feel it. Only after she got, Shmuel, she came back, and this is the first time that we have a prayer, a whole prayer. The prayer that she came again and pray. And this is the first time in our books that we have a text, a prayer text. And actually, thanks to Hannah, we know how to pray physically, and more than that, the language of the prayer. So that's why in my journey, when I realized that I'm going after testimonies and a lot of knowledge, I met so many libraries and books, etc., with the words "vatitpalel Chana v'tomar" in Hebrew. It doesn't matter if it was in Algeria, in Germany, in other communities like here and there, and all the Sidurim are opening with the words, the old Sidurim, with the words "vatitpalel Chana v'tomar," and Chana pray and said. It means that all of us are thanking to Hannah for the lessons she gave to us as a Jewish people. So, by the way, I mean, Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi, we are going to read, you're reading here, Tfilat Hannah. Tfilat Hannah. Pnina, this is the...
First day of Rosh Hashanah.
You call it Pnina? No. Tfilat Hannah. Pnina, this is the second wife. I mean, there were...
First day of Rosh Hashanah.
Hannah. Tfilat Hannah. We are reading Tfilat Hannah. And it's interesting to think why we are reading Tfilat Hannah in Rosh Hashanah. In a week from now, we are going to read Hannah. So, I mean, it's from this introduction, I asked myself, okay, the example of my granny, and we spoke just by maybe chance or not, but my granny, her name was Hannah. And from Hannah, our mother, we learn how to pray. So it means that in times that there is a lot of questions, we need more knowledge, we need more understanding. And we don't have to go far away. We have to go back to our heritage, to our books, to our history, and to our mothers. Because unfortunately, we are not that familiar with our mothers. So let's read together the pasuk from Mishlei. Shma beni musar avicha ve'al titosh torat imecha. You have it in the beginning, number 1. And actually, I added 3 different translations from 3 different Sidurim. And I would like to ask you which one is speaking to you Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's law. Listen carefully to your father's advice and never forget your mother's teachings, or embrace the wisdom of your father and curse the lessons of your mother. First, which one is suitable more to you, and why it's a different or otherness between the מוסר של האבא, the father, and the Torah of the mother. What is this? What is the difference? After all the introduction that we just spoke, what is the difference from your experience? And why in Mishlei they put together the difference and the otherness between the father and the mother? And more than that, when the Ramban wrote his famous letter, Igeret HaRamban, the letter from the Ramban that wrote to his son when the Ramban came to Israel, to Eretz Israel, he wrote a famous letter to his son. And this letter started with the words, Shma beni musar avicha ve'al titosh torat imecha. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's law. So think about it. What is the difference from your understanding perspective between the father's instruction and the mother's law? Please. Yeah. Because you are so in it.
My first impression would be that as much as we would like to live in only the spiritual world alone, we live also in the secular. So I was just thinking perhaps the father's instruction is appropriate to this world, and mother's law is the overriding sacred law that the Torah teaches.
Okay. Yes, please.
I think also the choice of word between instruction and law, because instruction, like I personally interpret it more like guidance or suggestion, advice. Like you instruct someone, but you're not commanding them, whereas like law is you have to abide by the law. So that's my take, whereas like instruction, it's a little lighter than law.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can I add on to that? Like, if you deviate from an instruction, there's not necessarily a harsh punishment. If you break a law, it is punishable by XYZ punishment. So there's the implication that the mother is the judge, the juror, the executioner. Not the executioner, but the executor of punishments, and actually holds.
The mother, from your understanding?
She's the law holder. She holds the law. She who makes the law holds the law. And with that in mind, she also kind of holds the moral sensibility of the home.
It's interesting. That's why it's better to read Hebrew. It's better.
I should know.
No, I mean, it's very interesting. That's why I brought three different kind of translation, and people here that understand Hebrew and English. Which translation?
Can you say it in Hebrew again?
Yeah. What's the
Can you say it in Hebrew?
שמע בני מוסר אביך, ואל תיטוש תורת אמך.
But the translation in English for Torah is instructions. Torah Chaim, instructions for living, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that the
Did you say
English
Musar?
translation?
Did you say Musar the first one?
מוסר אביך, מוסר, the morality. So,
Maybe because mothers are more, at home it's her laws and everything. Maybe instructions is more for more mechanic things, or maybe more things outside of the house, but the laws of the house, many of the kashrut, a lot of those laws are more embedded with the mother rather than father.
Okay. Yes, Rabbi?
Well,
I'm more drawn to the beginning of each part of the verse. So the Shema, the hear, and also the different translations that you offered. Hear, embrace. What was the third that you said?
Embrace the wisdom, listen carefully, and hear.
And hear. Okay, so when I hear those three, it's very positive to me. Open up your arms, to this kind of wisdom. But when you look at the all, right, the second half of the verse, it's like don't forget what she has to say. But it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's not embrace it, but don't forget it.
Right.
Don't curse it. Don't forsake it.
Right.
But it's not necessarily. I'm going to embrace everything she has to say. Don't forget that it's over here.
Okay.
but could it be that if a person forsakes the mother's law, you'll break her heart?
Interesting.
To be sad.
Very interesting what you say just now. Break her heart. Okay, sometimes in our life, I hear people say, oh, I must fast in Yom Kippur, otherwise my mommy will come in the middle of the night. Okay, I hear it. I hear it. It's interesting, but the fact that there is two ways of learning, think about it. I mean, I know that here in the States, that what I heard, that if you want to teach your child how to ride on bicycle, you open the YouTube and tell him, look at the video, and this how you, if you want, put your leg here and hold there, etc., or you can go to the library, open the book, and read how to use the, I mean, it's not? No. So how you teach children how to ride? What do you do?
You go and you hold them until they're steady, and then you let them go.
Okay. Well, okay. In Israel too. So it means there is different ways of how we access knowledge or how we bring the knowledge. We can do and use via books. Okay? So kashrut, for example, we can sit in the Bet Midrash or in the synagogue and learn it, how to do it. And the moral, it's of course, everybody knows that we all the instruction and everything and all the orders are in the books. But it's totally different to sit with your grandmother, and you are, she give you the orders in the kitchen, how to do it, how to practice, all the rituals, all the customs, and you are doing it. It's a practice, it's not reading, and it's the way how we internalize the knowledge, and it's different system, and we know it, all of us know it. It's part of our life as people, as educators, as parents, etc. And via this different, it's also questions for us what it means the word history. What is history? History for us as Jewish people. What is history? By the way, we don't have a Hebrew word for the word history. We don't have. What does the word history means? What is history?
The events that happened throughout time.
Okay.
A chronicle of past events.
Okay.
As told
Chronicle.
by
Okay.
narrators.
Perfect. But history, it means
Past.
past. Perfect. His story. His story. It means that the history was added. Okay? This book was added. Someone decided what to put in and what not. I mean, if you're a reporter, so you have an editor behind you that she chose what will be in the newspaper and what not, and what is the title, and what will be this, and etc. We're familiar. So someone edit the history for us, even Josephus Flavius or other historian that gave us the knowledge, that decided what is more important. But maybe some other things are very important and we are not that familiar with. So the majority of the knowledge in Judaism come from the Musar Av. For many reasons. The instruction of the father. Because yes, because our Torah as women is not written yet and enough. And my mission, and I think that our generation needs, is the Torah of the mother. And I'm trying to bring back this knowledge, not as a books, but as a suggestion for the knowledge that unfortunately we lost for many reasons. Part of them is our behavior and our, maybe we wanted to leave behind for many other reasons. The old knowledge, or we wanted to build something new. And from the academic perspective, in the academia, they prefer to take the halachic Jewish code and write about it in Israel, in the States, in other places. And the gender perspective that later came as a professional came later. But we lost the knowledge of our mothers. And that's how I started my journey. And the fact that I found so many testimonies and prayers that were written by women, for women, gave me the answers that I looked for many, many, many years. So one example that I would like to share with you, that how I find that I'm a little bit ignorant in my life as Jewish woman, was the other day in Italy, Shabbos morning, when as I told you, had a lot of questions in my mind. But we went for a weekend to Italy, in Rome, and I found myself Shabbos morning in the famous big synagogue in the ghetto, the Jewish ghetto. I'm sure some of you have been there, very famous synagogue, the synagogue that the Pope came and asked for the famous forgiveness for the people of Israel. And it was Shabbos morning, sunny day, very nice. I found myself in the synagogue, up with the women in the women's sections. And after all the Mishaberach, and I'm sure here you have in this synagogue Mishaberach for the soldiers, for the people of Israel, and etc., etc. But I'm for sure know, even though that I haven't been here in Shabbat, I'm sure that this Mishaberach still you don't have, okay? So let's read it together. And Rabbi, please read it for us. Number 3.
Number 3, and Miriam?
Uh,
Am I on the right page?
no, I'm not in the right page?
Do I have the same thing as everything?
Yeah. I'm having the...
Number 7, you mean number 7?
No, it's number 7. Sorry, I don't have the right. Yeah, number 7. Yeah. Sorry.
Beautifying the synagogue. Yes?
Thank you.
He who blessed Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, may he bless every daughter of Israel, who fashions a coat or covering with which to adorn the Torah, or who prepares a candle in honor of the Torah. May the Holy One, blessed be he, pay her reward and grant her the good that she deserves. And let us say, Amen. Do you want me to read it in Hebrew?
You want me or you?
I can.
Kadima.
Yishaberach Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Vivarech et Kol Bat Israel she'osa me'il o mipachat likvod haTorah ve'hamtakenet nir likvod haTorah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishalem skara v'yiten la'ilula hatov v'nomar.
Amen.
Amen. Beautiful.
Amazing. I was shocked. I didn't believe. I mean, first of all, we have to understand that in this community, it's very old Nusach, very old Siddur from the 15th century. It's not new. It's from the 15th century. So first we have the foremothers. I know that he used to the name of the mothers here in this synagogue, but think about it. It's 15th century. We are going back, yeah? So 15th century, first the foremothers. And then why in Italy women deserve every Shabbos morning, Mishaberach like this, and in Jerusalem, and in Los Angeles, and in Paris. No, I mean, what is all about? And I was shocked, and I didn't know. I was shocked. I went down. It was a nice kiddush. I met Rabbi there, and I asked him, Rabbi, what is all going on? And he looked at me and he said, Aliza, we are saying this every Shabbat. So I came back home. I went to the university. As I told you, I lectured back at university. I went to the library. I went to find answers. I spoke with professor, etc., and nobody could explain it to me. And I asked myself, what is all going on? I mean, special Misha Berach for women, named after 4 mothers, for a women that making the coat, yeah? If you're familiar with the Italian Sifrei Torah, the Torah book, they are so beautiful, together with the coat and the design and the belt. If you haven't seen it, so you should. Next time in Jerusalem, you're more than welcome, or in Italy.
Also Iran, sorry.
Iran?
Yeah, the women, they used to decorate some, if not coats, but some, I can say fabrics.
Fabrics.
And they decorated it with beads or whatever they wanted, plastic or whatever, handmade flowers or beautiful things, and covered the Torah with that.
Yes, this is amazing minhagim, rituals. But after, I'm not familiar with the fact that women in Iran, the Jewish community, were allowed to prepare the coat of the Torah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Women, I mean, men couldn't just make that. I mean, because this was all handmade by women, and usually, if they had a wish and they wanted to accomplish that wish, whatever, so they were doing this coat of
Interesting.
Torah.
Okay, thank you. That's why, that's how I'm collect knowledge, you see? And thank you very, very much for sharing this. But in Italy, actually, it was the women's mission to prepare it. And more than that, we are talking in the 15th century, and women in Italy were wealthy women, and they donate the fabrics, the materials, and they become very, very in a high profession. We are talking in a time that suddenly the culture opened for the Jewish people, and women were deeply involved in what is all going in the synagogue. And we have to understand that this is a very unique situation. In other communities, that time, women weren't allowed to be part of all these rituals and practice. And thanks to their activities and thanks to their donations, they got this amazing Misha Berach till now. Next time when you go to Rome, to this synagogue, you'll hear it. And there is only one place in Jerusalem that also, where? In the Italian synagogue, in Rehov Hillel, very, very nice prayer. I think one of the amazing prayer. And every Shabbat morning, they're saying this amazing Misha Berach to the women. But for me, it was a testimony and a moment that I say to myself, go and start your own research. Because this is something that I wasn't aware, didn't know. And the fact that I couldn't find knowledge about it, how come, since when, what is all about, etc., I try to bring back. And that's how my first book, my previous book, a Jewish Women's Prayer book, was published, and thank God do a lot of journey since then, and got the prize and become bestseller, etc. And then, yes.
Can I just share something with you? I have to leave in a moment, but I just have to tell you how inspiring you are, because during COVID, and I'm sorry that I'm interrupting.
No.
I need you to know this, that during COVID, we had, you can't hear me? Yeah, I think okay. During COVID, we had a challah bake. Well, what does it look like to have a challah bake during COVID? Everyone's in their own kitchens, right? We're isolated from each other. And I remember I was asked to give like a Devar Torah before the challah bake. So
via the Zoom.
Via Zoom, everything's Zoom, but it was pretty amazing. I think we had, hundreds of women on Zoom in their own kitchens on the challah bake. and I had to give a Devar Torah, and I used your prayer book because what I found so inspiring is that, and forgive me, I don't remember exactly which passage, but you had prayers from women who were in isolating and really horrific times where they wrote a prayer looking out the window. And
During the Inquisition time.
maybe that's the prayer I used, and I remember using that prayer, sharing it with where it was, 2020 or 2021, and we didn't know what was happening outside of our windows. And I just found such comfort in the words that you researched and that you found, because it tied all of us together, saying Jewish women have, in a way, been here before, and they didn't know what was outside their windows, and neither do we. But they use their prayer as inspiration and comfort, and we can too. So that was you who tied all of us together.
Thank you so much. And actually, I continued the journey with this book.
There you go.
Yeah, because then I say to myself, we need to bring back all the knowledge that I got since this book was published. And more than that, I would like to start from the beginning with, people around me that want to find themselves in the history. So how shall we do it? Not as a history lesson, and sit together and, okay, let's read about the women that didn't know where and what during the Inquisition time. But let's find Donna Grazia. Who was Donna Grazia? From the 16th century, the woman that was the richest woman in all over the world in the 16th century. Who was she? How come? That only when she was 12, her parents called her the other day and told her, you are Jewish. She didn't even know. She grew up as a Christian because she weren't allowed to be, are you familiar with the Inquisition? I can speak now 2 hours about the time, but that time, when the publics were finished, no synagogues, no Bet Midrash, nothing. Actually, more men left Judaism and become Christian. We know it from the statistics. And who took the control? Who took the responsibility behind the screen, behind when the windows were closed? Women. And from the testimonies that only came after 500 years in the archives of the Inquisition. Actually, we were, as researchers, allowed to go to the archive only 40 years ago. Before that, we couldn't. It was closed. We were forbidden to go there. And since I opened the testimonies and start reading, I found the differences between the Musar Ha'av and Torat Ha'em. And more women were arrested because they took care about their legacy, about their heritage, about the fact that in the houses, they light the candles, they made the Foshat Chala, and all the other rituals. And it was one testimony that, it's when a child took to the Inquisition and they asked him, what your mother do or does, etc., etc., and he said, no, she didn't do that and this. And then they asked him more questions. And he said, yes, on Friday, she asked me to dress white shirt. Think about it. His mother, Torat Em, she told him, change the clothes, for Shabbat, white. And what it means. What is different between Friday, special day, and the other days during the week, to make Kodesh Hol, even though that you don't have nothing in your hands to tell the story. Even in difficulties time, in the Holocaust, we're familiar with people, even in the camps, they took responsibility, even though that they didn't have nothing in their hands. And also from testimonies and interview people, I found more women to control. In difficulties time, in times that they no other one to lead the community, and women were there. So if I can share another example, and it's in the book, Tobi Drakeltaub from Auschwitz, that...
Number 5 here.
Yeah. You want to read it?
No. I don't.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi. Thank you so much. Yeah, how much time we have? I know that.
It's 8:06.
Yeah, okay. So there is only, yeah, we can open it just before. So number 5, for example, is a small Haggadah, 6 sentences from the Auschwitz. Actually, Toby Raketau from Hungary wrote this amazing Haggadah in 5 sentences that actually bring answers to our life this year. And when I sat together with the families in the hostages squares, just night before Leil Seder, all of us read Toby's Haggadah, and we found a way that we can touch the redemption, even though the bad situation that we are in. And the children, our brothers and sisters, unfortunately still in Gaza, and to sit together with the families that their lovers are still in Gaza, and they share with us the fact that how can we celebrate Pesach, and to read together Toby's Haggadah from Auschwitz. Let's read it, and I'm sure we don't need more word to describe the feeling. So maybe Rabbi Miriam, would you like to read number 5 for us?
We wish to celebrate, but we are unable to. We desire to believe, and that is the only thing that we have that they are unable to take from us. It is memory. That alone can give us hope for a better and more beautiful future that we wish to think about, and not to lower our heads. And if God redeemed our forefathers and foremothers from Egypt, He will also redeem us from our bitter enslavement and resort us to the land of our forefathers. Shall I do it in Hebrew?
Yes.
אנחנו רוצים לחגוג, אבל איננו יכולים. אנו חפצים להאמין בדבר היחיד, מה שיש לנו ומה שאינם יכולים. לקחת מאיתנו בו הזיכרון. רק זה יכול לתת לנו תקווה לעתיד טוב ויפה יותר. עליו אנו רוצים לחשוב ולא להוריד את ראשנו. ואם אדוני גאל את אבותינו ממצרים, יציל גם אותנו מעבדותנו המרה, וישיבנו לארץ אבותינו.
So when I'm thinking about my brothers and sisters that are still in Gaza, and I read Toby, and she said that something people can't take from you, even in the bad situation that they are for 11 months. They can't take the memory. The memory, the belonging, the identity, the understanding. And Toby, who is she? How come? You read now the Hebrew. The Hebrew with a little bit mistakes. I didn't want to correct the Hebrew because I found this testimony, this Haggadah, this small Haggadah, I found it in Hebrew. And how come the Toby knew Hebrew? She wrote it in Auschwitz. How come? We don't have time to tell you now all the story that it took me 5-6 years after the book was published to become familiar with, because I got a lot of testimonies like the one that you share with me now. That's how I try to build again the puzzle with the knowledge, and bring it back, not as a history lesson, as a tools and knowledge and heritage that all of us need. And I think that this year, all of us feel that we need it much more. So Amanda, I know that you on the time, so let's open it for discussion and questions and remarks, etc., etc. Yes, Gary, please.
Because it's going to be recorded, so anything not said into the microphone won't be. So.
Hello.
Thank you, Amanda. I have a question and a request. The request is, the next time you come to Los Angeles, if Rosa will allow it, you come and lead our table at the Torah on Yom Shabbat. And stay nearby so you can.
Be'ezrat Hashem. Please, God, I'll come. Thank you.
It's
Thank
up
you
to
so
Rosa's.
much, Gary, for all your help, support, and guidance.
So my question is a little bit difficult for me to ask. It's like this. My brother came to visit me when I made Aliyah, and I don't know, it was like 1982 or something like that. UCLA medical doctor. And we grew up secular. I was first bar mitzvah class here at Stephen S. Wise. I did not like temple. I made Aliyah, I didn't even know the alphabet. My question, and I said to Roger, I don't know what's going to happen to this country, Israel. If people aren't going to the Beit Knesset, except at that time it was less than today, but still maybe 80% secular, something like that. If they're not going to the Beit Knesset, if they're not in touch with their Judaism, how do we expect them to go to war? Why are they not all going to go to America, go to Europe? Why are they going to send their children to war if they're not in touch with their Judaism?
How much time we have? I think this is our life conflict, if I can say it. But Gary, I feel privileged. I think that if we have the opportunity to ask all the people in the last 5,000 years, in which generation they want to be part, and I think that we are privileged. I'm a Sabre. I grew up in Israel. I was born in Israel. I raised my children in Israel. People ask me before I came, don't you have any relative in the States or someone, friends? Good. Now, thank God I have. But before, Toda Lael, everybody in my family lives in Israel, raised their children in Israel. And you're right. We need to know who are we, where we come from, and what is our life mission. And if you ask my opinion, if not, and we are going to read this parasha, Parashat Nitzavim Vayelech, a week before Rosh Hashanah. There are always prices in life. You pay price. Either we see the situation. I'm not coming here to read together with you the Pew research, but we see the statistics here in the States. I think concerning your question, the only place that you can be secular and don't go to Beit Knesset is in Israel. And don't go to community or be part of something is Israel. Because you know why? Because Israel is a huge Beit Knesset. Okay? You go in Friday, Tel Aviv, in most secular area, you know that this is Shabbat. You feel it, you see. You see the white people, the people with the white shirts, and you see that there is no transportation, and you see that most of the shops are closed, and everybody in Israel, it doesn't matter if you're secular or religious, buy challah. And the worst case, if you don't have cake for Shabbat. Even though you are on diet. You see sufganiyot, the donuts, 3 months before Hanukkah. Okay? It's a cheese festival 3 months before Shavuot. You become familiar with the Jewish calendar, even you are not part of synagogue. Because this is the situation. In the end of the day, in Israel, everybody is Orthodox. In the end of the day, this is the situation. Because when there is so many shivot in Israel in the last year, I found myself going 650 shivot in the last year. And all of us did. And all of us. It doesn't matter if you are this, that, kind, because we are Jewish people. When we have our heart. And we know that we have a common destiny. This is our story. This is our story. And when I sit today, together with Rabbi Miriam, with a professor from UCLA, and she asked me, why you agreed to sit with me? And I told her, you are my sister. And when I was in the Knesset and Rabbi Goldschmidt, the chief rabbi of Russia, came to me and told me, Aliza, we have a problem in Russia. We have many, many, many agunot in Russia. Help me. We don't know what to do. And I told him, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? They are not Israeli citizens. Why you are coming to me? And he said, nobody can help us. Plenty of agunot in Russia because it's become a phenomena that the men leave their wife, have a second wife without giving the get. So how come? Who will help them? And I asked him, why want from me? And he said, nobody will help us. And in the end of the day, it took me 4 years to pass the legislation, that thanks to these legislations, every Jewish woman in all over the world, even they are not Israeli citizens, if they're in a situation that they are agunot, they can apply the rabbinical court in Israel for assistance. And thanks God that via this legislation, we have less agunot in the Jewish diaspora. So yes. Yeah. So yes, I mean, it's my responsibility. But concerning and coming back to your question, I think that after a year like this, the definition between the religious and secular changed, and sometimes, and that's why we need to become familiar with our history. That's why in the end of the book, there is timetable for us, for all of us. Because, people ask me, Aliza, Esther HaMalka, Esther the Queen, was before the Holocaust? Or she was, when she was? I mean, Hannah, Rivka, Esther, we are not that familiar with, when and after. And it's not a joke. It's something that we need to be, part understand, because it's not a history. We don't have a word history. We have a heritage, and we have to sit down, like in Leil HaSeder. The most important thing in Leil HaSeder is to tell our story and to remember where we came from. We came from Egypt. We were slaves in Egypt. Why it's so important every Shabbat and all the time to remind us, each other, and what is the lessons that we have to take with us. And yes, sometimes we have, my friend Gary, to take the responsibility for our children and for our grandchildren. Yes, Fariba, would you like to add something? Ask.
Just one thing to add you, and everybody says Shabbat Shalom to each other. It's something, and to your point, you can be religious, not secular. That Shabbat Shalom is
It's Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah. I actually have two questions. One is a quick one, but why there is, I have heard it before, why there is no word for history in Hebrew? I mean, obviously we have a very rich history. How come? And then
we don't have a word history, because history is something that we have to learn. In Hebrew, we say, Ele toldot. This is our story. We have to know it. We have to become familiar with. We have to practice it. We have to sit down every Shabbos evening and remember, think about the Kiddush and think about the words. Zecher li'tziat Mitzrayim. Remember that we all of us left, and the process, and how come that we became together as a nation, as a people of Israel. And all the time we are dealing with it, we are speaking, we have the mission to tell, to teach, the responsibility as parents to tell the story, to sit down to tell the story. This is the most important thing in Leil HaSeder, to sit together all the night and tell our story and add the story. Think about the amazing game that our old mother create, the afikoman. What is afikoman? What is afikoman? What is all about? What is the interesting and clever thing behind the afikoman? Why we have afikoman? Yofi. Till the end of the Seder. Look at your grandchildren and children. All of us, they are waiting, fighting. Where is the afikoman? Ta-ta-tam, ta-ta-tam. It's, wow, everybody is so energy. Why? Because in the end, and you should come and tell the story and promise the presents and etc. etc. And yeah, a lot of tools that we have to use, like in a week from now. There is a lot of simanim also, נכון? There is a lot of foods, kind of symbols on the table in your community, in the Persian community, like my granny from Afghanistan. Why is that? Via this.
We always get the kids involved. I mean, that's
Okay.
Also, Manishtana, and the youngest child should say that. So sure,
Mhm.
sure.
Okay.
So in some ways, we bring the past to the present, and maybe that's why.
Okay, so this is the Torah of the mother.
Yeah.
This is the Torah. Think about the difference between your father, your mother, your grandfather, your grandmother, and the way that how they accessible the Judaism or the knowledge or the Torah, and you'll see the differences. Yes. Yes, please.
Yeah. I have another question.
No, ask. Okay.
I can also. I haven't read your book. I will read it. So
Thank
I
you.
don't know if you mentioned her or not, but I read the book. I wanted to ask your opinion about Michal, the daughter of Shaul. Because I read a book from her, I think it was called... No. Yeah, and wife of David, David HaMelech, the first wife. And it is somewhat controversial because I think the name of the book was The Book of Prophets or something, and obviously she paints some things that, to your point, that whoever wrote maybe the history wrote it from their angle and she writes it from her angle, so I'm curious.
Michal Bat Shaul's lesson that next time I can, share with you, but Michal Bat Shaul, it's another example. I didn't write her in this book, maybe in the next book, but yes, you're right. We have to ask the questions, and more than that, small text about Michal and even about Miriam, the prophet. Miriam, Rabbi Miriam, she celebrated birthday yesterday. But Miriam the prophet, who is she? If we have now time to think together and start learning about Miriam, what we will say about her from your perspective, for example? I mean, what is she?
Miriam, Moses' sister?
Yeah.
What is she?
I don't know a lot, but overall positive that she was, we all know the story that she was like singing and dancing. And
Okay,
so I have a positive view, but I don't know.
Moses' sister.
But she also spoke against Moses.
And Zipporah.
She obviously
She gossiped.
Moses.
And she was punished for it
Okay.
Yeah.
and removed from the community for it.
Okay, so you see, for example, why we are not speaking about Miriam in Parashat Chukat, okay? Same parasha that Moses said, I can't continue with Am Yisrael, I can't do it anymore, and he spoke with the Creator, etc., because they refused to listen to him. And what he said, they didn't want to do. And in this parasha, when Miriam said what she said, and God said, okay, she's going to be punished, yes, and then he said, she will wait 7 days in the tent, and the people of Israel will go. And then suddenly, the people of Israel in this parasha said together, as a unite people, no, we are going to stay. We are going to wait for her. Suddenly, they can work together. So think about it, about the connection between her and the people of Israel. By the way, Miriam, she was one of the 3 leaders in the desert. Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, okay? And think about her leadership concerning the questions or the issue that we started our lecture, Torah Ha'em v'Musar Ha'am. What is the difference when we're now talking about leadership and women's time, etc., gender perspective? What is the difference? How come that Moses, the big prophet, the prophet of the prophets, Bnei Israel complain all the time. But when Miriam, the dialogue, the intimate understanding with Miriam and the people of Israel, and the timber that she took from that nightmare in this night, what is all the story with Miriam? And more than that, in the testimonies that I found, women And in Yemen, in Persian, in Germany, women spoke with Miriam every Shabbos. And I found several prayers concerning this discussion that they had and used to say with her, not with Moses and Aaron. So I asked myself the questions, how come? Why? Why is that? Yes, please. You wanted to add something?
Maybe the English translation for Haggadah, what's the
translation for Haggadah? Rabbi
The
Miriam,
word
what is the
Haggadah.
translation for Haggadah?
Because that's a story.
And you shall tell.
You should tell.
A telling.
Telling.
Haggadah,
זה
It's
Haggadah.
not a history here,
להגיד.
even though it's telling of the history.
Even though there is telling the history, yeah, אלה תולדות, to tell the story. It's practice, it's doing, it's not passive. It's something in your life. It's something that you have to be responsible for your knowledge, for your children, for your grandchildren, for your family, for your community, for your nation. Yeah.
So that's not a definition of the word history in Hebrew?
No, there is
Not
no,
at all, huh?
no,
Okay.
no. That's why we use the English word. אגדה זה להגיד.
It comes from להגיד.
להגיד,
Okay.
להמשיך להגיד. It's
In
doing.
English we say mythology, myth. I think Haggadah comes, no, what is it?
So we have time for just one more question.
Okay,
Yeah.
Amanda, you are in charge.
Oh, I want to choose who. I have two lovely options right here.
Okay.
Maybe one.
No pressure. But I love talking about Miriam. I think that she's a wonderful example of a very flawed and wonderful leader. And my softa was Miriam. So
My mom is Miriam. My mother.
I love it. But I think my question is kind of about a lot of women, a lot of young Jewish women today who don't know how to start looking into a dialogue with our history, like you were saying. For me, I actually grew up in this shul and I went to school here. And it was really hard for me to form an attachment and a relationship with the tefillah and with the religious aspect of it and all the rituals. And on my spiritual journey, I found traditions in other avenues of spirituality. And I found more things that were comforting in the feminine histories of other avenues. And then came back to my Judaism when I was able to do more research for myself and find out more. But it's not very user-friendly for young women. And it took a really long time for me to find out that there was an entire tradition that just isn't widely taught and it isn't widely spoken about. So what is your, in a very large nutshell, advice for young women who want to know more?
What's your name?
Amy.
Actually, Amy, I thought about you many years. And that's why I work so hard to translate my books. Because I'm familiar with the situation in our generation, even in Israel. And the fact that you, like me, we weren't familiar enough is because of many reasons. But at times to say, okay, we need to continue our mothers working. And I would like you, please, because you mentioned and you said that you like Miriam, I would like you to read for us a testimony that was taken in the hostages square. A woman like you, Rinat. Rinat lost her nephew in Re'im Festival, in the Nova Festival. And I didn't know Rinat before. Now we are very close friends and we work together. But 2 weeks after the October the 7th, I found myself in the square and I heard her talking about Miriam. I was shocked. Let's read it together. Please, one moment. I hope it's here.
It's here.
Yeah,
It's
it's
on the
here.
first page.
Okay.
Thus,
4.
yeah. In Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, October 2023, Rinat Luke, aunt of Shani Luke, who was murdered by terrorists on October 7th and whose body was found after 7 months, said, I feel a connection to Miriam the prophetess. This woman is a wonder. Everyone was leaving Egypt. There was no time. The children, the mess, and therefore everyone took matzot, suitcases, equipment, and they all had fear in their hearts of what would happen. But what did Miriam do? First of all, she took a drum with her. Miriam's drum, with which she sang and danced at the splitting of the Red Sea because she already knew it would be good. She expressed future, hope, and joy. Rinat shared, beyond the strength given to me by Shani during those difficult days of caring, I also received strength from Miriam the prophetess, who connected to my heart the moment I knew I had to speak. I felt a strong desire to bring the immense power of the elevated righteous Miriam, not diminished by people, but elevated by the spirit of the people. I went to the square that was not yet called Hostage Square, and my heart broke at the uniform cries. Now, from my shattered and deep soul and spirit, I saw for a brief moment circles of joyful people dancing because everyone is returning. And behold, I see in my imagination Miriam the prophetess holding a drum. In the tumult and excitement of the Exodus, Miriam's choice to hold the small drum symbolizes generations of women holding on to the drum. She was the future energy of joy, standing ready for the moment of redemption.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I asked Rinat, how come? She said, Aliza, I didn't learn about Miriam at school and I wasn't familiar with her before. But suddenly I saw her. She came. I can't explain better than Rinat. This is the answer, I think.
Thank you.
תודה רבה, שנה טובה. Rosa, thank you. Guy, thank you. Amanda, thank you. Rabbi Miriam, Rabbi.
Yes, on behalf of the adult wonderful, inspiring talk.
Thank you so much.
And we're very grateful to you and wish you much success with your book.
Thanks.
And come back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. שנה טובה.
Shana Tuba.
Thank you for joining us here at Sinai Temple. To help continue our prayer and holiday services, our programs, and the many ways we strengthen the Jewish community in Israel, please scan the QR code below to learn more about how to support Sinai Temple. From all of us, Toda Rabah, thank you.